Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Yes, it is bright in the middle of the afternoon. Holy shit, there's a dude climbing on the top of the... it's like a worker. He's got wires and stuff, but he is on like a top... I'm on like the fourth floor of my building. This guy is like... I don't know, probably like a mile or two from me. Nah, maybe less than that. It's got to be like, I don't know, maybe 400 yards. But he's got to be like 12 stories up on like a slanted roof. Sorry, that threw me off. I wasn't ready for that. Anyway, like I said, it is a Thursday afternoon. Yes, I am behind. I got softball on Wednesdays. Last week I was down in Jersey. This week I was back. Championship round was this week. Unfortunately, we lost. Took second place. But considering that we were sub 500 for a good portion of the season, finishing second was pretty awesome. But ended up hanging with the team. We're going to have like a team party at one of our buddies' places next week. So I want to indulge in those things. And that makes the 3 a.m. wake-up call kind of tough. So for these first 3 eps, you're getting middle of the day, Corey. When we get to the back 6, hopefully I'll be up and ready to roll at 3As. But for now, it is bright and Thursday afternoon, and there's a new superhero television episode on Disney Plus, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. What are we talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Season 1, Episode 2, Superhuman Law. And that, of course, is the title of the comic run that the show is adapting. When we saw the trailers come out, I was like, ooh, looks like they're going to do a bit of an origin adaptation, because you kind of need that for She-Hulk. And you're going to kind of do this Superhuman Law run in the comics that I've heard lots of things about. Unfortunately, with everything going on in my world, I haven't had a chance to dive into any of those issues, so when you're on the spoiler and reaction video, please let me know Easter eggs that you comic readers and fans of She-Hulk are picking up on in the episodes, because I'm not really getting tons of those. But what's going on in the MCU, I'm really digging with what they're doing with She-Hulk. And from what I'm taking away, just knowing the origin and then like the concept of the superhuman law stuff, like it feels like the adaptation that Feige and co are kind of taking on here. While it's differing from the comics, I think it holds the essences, like I said, I don't know, so tell me if I'm wrong, but like, that first episode, I thought I had enough of the essence of what you needed, from the origin story. It was like, I get why you tweak the things you tweak, but it ultimately all ends up being the same, right? It's Bruce's blood getting into her bloodstream, and it works inside the context of the MCU. And I don't know if Emil Blonsky is the first person that she, takes on in the comics, but having that character be the character that she's gonna take on, like, it's stuff that I think makes sense in the world of how they're adapting. And when you get to episode 2, we're shifting gears, right? Like, at the end of episode 1, spoilers if you didn't watch that one, but like, it's not a big giveaway. Jen just looks at the camera because she breaks the fourth wall and goes, lawyer show. Like, that's where we're headed. And this is our first episode. And it really does. I was talking to a buddy. He was like, even though there wasn't a ton of lawyer stuff last week, we were on the island mostly. I was saying it's got like a lawyer sitcom vibe. And he's like, do you ever watch Franklin and Bash? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the realm that they're playing in. Like, you're doing these serious courtroom pieces, but you're adding a lot more entertainment around that stuff than more law and dramatic things. And ultimately, like, I think that's really working for this show, because it really works for Tatiana Maslany. She's somebody who, I believe I might have said orange is the new black last week. I knew it was an O, and I knew there was a black, but it's Orphan Black where she comes from. Again, this is shows I had not had a chance to watch. I crisscrossed my wires last week, but, you take... From what I understand, I think there's some real dramatic stuff from Orphan is the New Black. Like, Maslany can handle the dramatic weight of anything, really, that I think would get tossed at her. But she has so much charisma, so much charm. I mean, like, the facial expression stuff that she's doing, wow, man, like you're really like I honestly just enjoy watching her face because some of the faces she makes, man, I'm like, she's got this expressionism to her that just adds to the comedic timing and play that she has going on in the show. And look, I'm not going to talk about the visual effects anymore because personally, knowing the types of restraints and time crunches that the visual effects artists are being held to for Marvel to get all of this content out, and understanding that, like, doing what you do with Bruce, where you literally are just building something that has the facial aspects of Banner, but, you know, body-wise, everything's out of proportion to Mark Ruffalo, you're just enhancing Maslany, right? Like, she's not having this crazy transformation. She's supposed to look like herself. And that's difficult to do. And in all honesty, first episode, this episode, I think it looks good. You know, when you're adding all those factors in. So I'm not going to talk about the visual effects stuff anymore. But even with a little bit of the wonkiness that exists in there, the expressions that Maslany is making almost kind of play into it in a way where it's like, it kind of enhances some of those comedic looks that she has. And seeing how she can juggle all that really makes a lot of sense when you're going into like this type of a lawyer show. And, you know, I look forward to those dramatic sequences in the courtroom, which I'm sure will also be funny. But, like, I mean, the end of the episode last week, like, was like it felt like you were watching an attorney procedural. And the comedy elements of the show just make it wildly entertaining. And this week, you know, you have Jen coming to terms and grips with everything that happened at the end of last week, right? Like, she's got control of everything. She doesn't have to be a Hulk, but like Bruce said, you know, that very first lesson he teaches her, I love that was the one that hit, is like, weird and dangerous and crazy stuff will find a Hulk. And, like, she doesn't want to be a Hulk, and then a situation arises where she doesn't have a choice. And watching how she deals with the repercussions of that this week, and how that leads to her, you know, her gig kind of running and being the face of the superhuman law division, is a lot of fun to watch Maslany go through. Like, she really has a lot of emotional ups and downs this whole episode. Like, it's like every time she gets a win, it's 2 pegs down to go another peg up. And watching how she juggles that, how that plays into the character she's in and around this week. You know, I mean, things with Bruce, things with Nikki. We get to, mild spoiler, but we get to be introduced to her family and what it's like. And seeing Miss Marvel so recently and knowing what it's like spending time with the Khan family, coming over to the Walters family is a trip. And how Jen handles all that stuff in the context of the show and how it kind of leads into her stuff, like, I thought really worked for me. And while this episode doesn't necessarily have as much action, you know, there really isn't a ton of action to speak of. And look, we're getting into lawyery show stuff, so I don't expect tons and tons of She-Hulk action. But, like, you lose a little bit of the fun and action, Hulk action stuff you got with the training things that were going on at the island, and you, I think for me, replace it with a more, like, leaning more into what the show is going to be, where it's like, you're going to see She-Hulk all the time, but she's got to be doing lawyer things. And at some point, you know, those things will probably bubble where she needs to Hulk out, but, like, it's not going to be one of those shows where there's something big happening every episode. And I think the writing for Maslany in particular was just a little bit more interesting and stronger this week. You know, a lot of last week was that chemistry and the back and forth between her and Bruce. And what Maslany and Ruffalo were able to do in that episode, having fun with each other, made it super enjoyable and got everything they needed to get accomplished to get to this piece of the show. But knowing that Jen is all about being a lawyer, watching how she has to merge these worlds that she never wanted to merge, and how she's starting to handle it, and, like, the good and bad things it's delivering the character, I just thought was fascinating this week. And for me, I like the writing and what was given to Maslany from a performance standpoint a little bit more. And that's good, because she's going to have to carry the show in a way where you're not always relying on Hulk action. And the performance, I think, is just, it's top-notch from Maslany. And anybody else that pops up in this episode. Like I said, we get to meet some of her family members. There's, another character that you guys probably already assume we were going to meet this week. And the back and forth and interaction that Maslany has with said character, which we talk about in the spoiler side of things later on. But like the back and forth that she has, I thought was fascinating, and the performance from said individual was really good, and it was nice to have them on screen in this situation that you're kind of playing with. But watching how Maslany kind of bounces off and plays with different people in the show has been a lot of fun. And like I said, watching how she's handling the mixture of Jen and She-Hulk and it all kind of colliding without her having any control over it is really fascinating for me this week. And yeah, once again, you're talking about a quick in and out show. This episode was 23 minutes. Once again, we do get another post-credits sequence. Seems like we're going to get one of those every episode, and they're not really anything that's building on major drama. It's more kind of leaning into the humor elements of the show, and it's a pretty good laugh when you get there. And like I said, I just like the fact that the show is having fun, and it knows what it wants to be. And anytime you have a show or a movie when it knows what it wants to be, even if it doesn't hit every beat that every person wants, but when a show or a movie or a piece of material knows what it is and leans into that, even if it's not the best, it's still usually, at least for me, enjoyable or worthwhile. And that's the thing that I love about this and about self-aware shows, right? Like when a show is completely self-aware of itself, and that plays into the show in like a fourth wall breaking way, like we've seen with Deadpool, and certainly we didn't get a ton of it, but we saw a little bit in the first episode. We see a little bit more here. The show knows what it wants to be, and whether that's what everybody else wants is up to the viewer, but you have to appreciate that it knows what it wants to be, and it plays into that. And when you have a self-aware character, that stuff really, really, I think, enhances what you're getting. We saw it with, the syllabus bits with Hulk and how fast we moved through the origin. And you see it here with certain elements that are just going on where, because Jen is self-aware and the show knows what it wants to be, I think it's just super easy to enjoy. And the self-aware elements are, I think, going to continue to just pick up. But the moments that you get are quite funny. There's a couple of good ones for Jen. And there is one self-aware line in this episode that, it's so good that the line alone could make it my favorite episode of the season. And that's the stuff that I love. So, man, this show is working for me. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than last week. So let's get the C-Maniacs up. Like I said, Maslany, absolutely on fire. Everything she's doing is just wonderful. I think the writing has been very strong, and because the show knows what it's wanting to be, what it is, and is leaning into those things, even if it's moving fast or things are happening where you're like, a little bit more time, you could have done this, or this. Nah, man. I think this 23 to 30 minute episode, bang, 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 fun, entertaining stuff really works, and Maslany makes it work. And what's cool is, we're leaning into a lot of the humor elements, and we get these little tidbits of emotional or dramatic pieces from Maslany. But seeing what she's done in these first two episodes, when the show wants to go dramatic or get more serious, it's obvious that she's going to crush it. The cast around her is really strong. Like I said, it's the writing. The writing is hitting. Last week you had a lot of action and fun Hulk stuff. This week you have a little bit less of that because we're leaning more into the lawyer show and what's going on with Jen. But when you have an actor that is doing what she's doing with writing that's good like this, you can have an episode with almost no action that, for me, maybe worked a little bit better than last week. So I'm going 4.5 out of 5 C-Maniacs. We went 4 last week. I think this was a nice step up. And hopefully we're between 4 and 4.5s all season, and when we get to the end, we move into the big 5er. But I think, this is a little bit of a slower, wow pop, where Miss Marvel, I was eating every inch of that show up. I'm loving every second of this, but because we're getting these short, quick episodes, I want to see what we're building to, and so far I think it's a very, very strong start, and I think that there are plenty of other heights and places that this show can reach. So I'm super excited. I'm loving She-Hulk 2 episodes in. That's everything I gotta say, because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. Now I want to know, what are you guys thinking, man? It's your turn. Are you liking the show? Do you like the entertaining, fast-paced, more humorous vibe? How funny was the joke for you in this episode? Don't say what it is. Just tell me how hard you laughed. I died. You'll see it in my reactions. I love the self-aware nature of this show. So let me know if that's working for you. What are you liking about She-Hulk and Jen's story? Are you just like loving everything Maslany's doing? What are you feeling about the cast? How this thing is shaping up? Where we're heading? Are you in? Are you out? Are you on the fence? Anything you guys got, man. Good, bad, indifferent. On She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Season 1, Episode 2, Superhuman Law. Please put it down below in the comment section. Look forward to talking to you guys down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer reactions, you want to be here on Thursday afternoons for these first couple weeks, but hopefully Thursday mornings with me as we watch every episode of She-Hulk together. You just like the general vibe of what's going on here, maybe the energy, the personality, maybe you just like the analysis. Anything that makes you go, you know what, I want to show this guy a little love, support. Super easy to do, man. Come join C-Man Nation. Symbol. Jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Mans, Cinema Sit Down. I've been the C-Man. I'm Silent Noel. Peace! Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.